On the banks of the Sarayu River is Ayodhya, the royal capital of Kosala. There Dasarata ruled from the tall white Ayodhya palace. He was lord of the earth and lord of men. But though Dasarata was an old man, 60,000 years old, he had no son to inherit his kingdom. He called his priest Vashishta and said, "Brahmana, I long for son. Therefore make a sacrifice with fire to please the gods." Vashishta said, "You will have sons after your own heart." Dasarata went to his 3 queens and said, "We will have sons." And their faces shone like lotus flowers, opening after the long winter's end. Vashishta chose a day whose ruling stars were fortunate. He lit the holy fires by the river and sang, "Indra, king of heaven, come." In heaven above, Indra sighed and hissed like an angry snake. Indra looked about his heaven. It was a hopeless ruin, crushed and buried beneath soot and cinders. Heaven's long golden street was littered with slain Gandharvas and with the corpses of Rakshasa demons. The heavenly stream of Ganga ran red with blood. Indra had just fought the battle of heaven. He alone had stood up against the demon king Ravana. Now Indra's eyes filled with tears. He ground his teeth and clenched his fists. Then he flew up to Brahma's high heaven beyond change. Brahma sat on a lotus throne in a room set 3 steps beyond the end of the universe. Indra entered. "You are to blame. It's your fault, all of it." "Alas," said Brahma, "it is my loss that I ever created any of you. Ravana, the 10-headed Rakshasa king, has wantonly slain my people," said Indra. "And you have arranged it so that no one in heaven can kill Ravana. You set him over us all. I fear even to go down to the sacrifice of the Ayodhya king Dasarata." Brahma said, "Stop your suffering and raise your head. Dasarata will reach his desire. 4 sons will be his. Take the Kosala king's offerings and no one will stop you. Keep out of Ravana's sight and be patient. Go to Narayana. Ask Narayana, how was Ravana careless? Then obey the mantras of Vashishta." Indra went to Narayana, the Lord Vishnu, the soul of the universe. "Searcher of hearts, how shall we bring down Ravana?" asked Indra. "Help me, you are my only refuge. Give me your permission to fight Ravana once more." "Never," said Narayana. "Don't you understand that Brahma's words are always true? I would not have let you fight in the first place, though you were right to resist and Ravana was wrong. Ravana asked Brahma, 'Let me be unslayable by every creature of heaven and of the underworld.' And Brahma promised, so be it. That boon is unbreakable. Yet will I cause Ravana's death. Only ask me." "Ah," said Indra, "from disdain Ravana did not mention men or animals, and took no safeguard against them. Lord, we need you again. Look at us, see us, bless us. For the good of all the worlds, Lord Narayana, accept birth as a man." "I will." Waves of happiness washed over Indra. Dark blue Narayana, descend into the borrowed and fanciful world of men. Become Dasarata's 4 sons, born of blood and seed. Take your goddess Lakshmi, and let her be your mortal wife. Kill Ravana forever. I hate that pampered Rakshasa. "We will go down," said Narayana. "Listen, Vashishta calls you to earth with songs, to Ayodhya, by the sleepy Sarayu. The melted butter from Vashishta's ladle fell into the flames. Vashishta sang, "Indra, be my bridge from high to low." Tongues of fire danced, and Indra came unseen in the sky. Vashishta sang, "Narayana, we take your protection. Leave your home a moment, draw near, come to us." Vashishta quickly stepped back to stand beside King Dasarata. Then a giant black man rose from the flames in a stream of smoke and a burning shower of sparks. He stepped out from the fire and glared with menace at the king, but Dasarata faced him unmoved. The giant held out a steaming golden bowl like the sun with a silver cover. Inside the bowl was rice, cooked with milk and sweetened with sugar. Dasarata took the bowl in his hands. The giant said, "Feed this to your wives, it will bring you sons." The fire crackled, and the giant vanished. Dasarata went to the inner rooms of his palace. He gave the gleaming bowl to his first wife, Kaushalya, and said, "Eat half of it." He gave his second wife, Sumitra, half of what remained. He gave his youngest wife, Kaikeyi, half of what Sumitra had left. He thought a moment and gave all the rest to Sumitra again. A year later, on the 9th day of spring, Rama was first born to Kausalya. Later that same day, Bharata was born to Kaikeyi. Then still later, Sumitra bore 2 sons, Lakshmana and Shatrugna. Rama grew to be his father's favorite son. He had more energy than the sun and a deep voice. He had colorful green eyes. His skin was cool, soft green, and so smooth even dust would not cling to him. He walked like a lion. Of all men, only Rama was born knowing his own heart. Lakshmana was Rama's second self. He was Rama's own life walking beside him. Lakshmana was of golden skin and measureless strength. His eyes were blue as wildflowers and his hair was golden brown. Prince Bharata was born with red skin, scarlet lips, and hair red as flame. His brother Shatrugna had dark blue skin and black eyes and black hair. And in the same way that his twin Lakshmana was drawn to Rama, Shatrugna accompanied Bharata everywhere. When the 4 princes were 16 years old, the recluse Vishwamitra came to Kosala in the spring. King Dasarata met him outside the city, and they walked together into Ayodhya. When they were seated in the palace, Dasarata said to Vishwamitra, "Why have you come? Whatever you want, I will gladly give you." "Promise me," said Vishwamitra. "I promise." Vishwamitra said, "Majesty, that promise becomes you alone. No one else would make it. The pathless forest where I live has become a courtyard of evil. No longer is there any safety from the Rakshasas of the monstrous demon king Ravana. For years I have tried to complete a sacrifice in the solitary forest," Vishwamitra said, "yet when I speak a blessing I hear the heavy tread of countless running feet in the air above me and see no one. My water jars break untouched, my fires go out." Dasarata said, "How have Rakshasas overcome Brahma power? Where are the gods who should protect you?" Vishwamitra replied, "Majesty, we are living in the second age of the world. These are faded days, and Dharma declines. This is a time of scene shifting and contrivance, trickery and lies. King, against Ravana's Rakshasas there is no help in the forest and no help from the gods. Listen, Majesty, and you will learn how the 3 worlds have fallen prey to the inhuman race of the night wanderers. you will hear what that hateful demon Ravana has done. At the beginning of time, Brahma, the creator of the worlds, made 4 guardians. Those were the first Rakshasas and the first Yakshas. Vishwakarman, the heavenly architect, built a beautiful fortress city for the Rakshasas on the Isle of Lanka in the southern sea, and the race of Rakshasas flourished. But as they increased in number, there was not room for every Rakshasa to live in Lanka. Some left the others and prowled, roaming through the forests across the sea. And there they began to eat the raw flesh of men, striking by night. The pride and the greed of the demons grew from age to age, and in time one of the Rakshasa kings, Sumali, became envious even of Vishravana, the lord of treasures. Sumali told his daughter, "Go to Vishrava, the treasure lord's father, and get sons by him." She cast down her eyes, but fearing to disobey her father, she went to the hills. Vishrava took her for his second wife, and she gave birth to 4 Rakshasas, 3 sons and a daughter. The firstborn was Ravana. Ravana had 10 hideous heads and 20 arms. He was blacker than a heap of soot and fit to horrify the universe. He had 2 fangs curving up from each mouth and 20 red eyes. When he was born, every dog in the world howled as loud as it could and chased its tail madly, turning left in circles. Next was born the giant Kumbhakarna, and he grew up in one day to stand taller than a high house. Then the frightful girl Shorpanaka was born, and last of all, Vibhishana, the good demon. Not long after their birth, Ravana and Vibhishana saw the treasure lord come home on one of his visits. Ravana became sad that he had no such brilliance as his half-brother Vishravana, and he and his brothers sat down in the wide forest to contemplate the immensity of life. In contemplation, they entered eternity. And at the end of every 1,000 years, Ravana cut off one of his heads and threw it into the fire as a sacrifice, until 9 of his heads were gone, and but 1 day remained before he would cut off the last one. That day was passing. Ravana held the knife to his throat when Brahma appeared and said, "Stop! Ask me a boon at once." "I'm glad that I please you," said Ravana. "Please me," said Brahma. "Your will is dreadful, too strong to be neglected. Like a bad disease, I must treat it. Ask." "May I be unslayable and never defeated by the gods or anyone from any heaven, by hell's devils or asuras or demon spirits, by underworld serpents or yakshas or rakshasas." "Granted," said Brahma. He gave Ravana back his burnt heads. They rose living from the ashes and settled on Ravana's neck, better looking than before. Brahma told Vibhishana, "Ask. May I never forget Dharma in peril or in pleasure, in comfort or in distraction." Brahma said, "Yes, and you will be immortal on earth and exempt from death or oblivion." Lord Brahma turned to Kumbhakarna, but the wind came to him invisibly and whispered, "Grandfather, give him nothing. He has eaten many saints. He blunders about, ruining peace and happiness. Consider what he did with no boons. With them he will eat everyone." Brahma thought, "Saraswati, white goddess of speech, for a moment capture the words of Kumbhakarna." Brahma said aloud, "Kumbhakarna, quickly ask and quick be given." Kumbhakarna answered, "What I really want is to sleep for half a year after every day I have to spend awake in this stupid world." He no sooner spoke than he fell over into a deep sleep. Ravana ruled over Lanka and over the millions of Rakshasas and their families. He married Mandodari, the daughter of Maya, the golden-skinned daughter of illusion. And their son was Meghanada. Meghanada had a voice like a cloud full of thunder. He changed his form and appearance at will, and if he had a true form, only his mother, Mandodari, knew what it was. Ravana chose the demon Prahasta as his general, and Prahasta gathered soldiers into an army. They would make many raids into the Himalayan hills. Gandharvas and Apsarasas visiting Earth were captured and eaten, men were devoured. Ravana stole fair maidens of every race as wives for his warriors in Lanka. And from Vaishravana, the treasure lord, he stole Pushpaka, the beautiful aerial chariot driven by thought alone. Ravana took Pushpaka, and all by itself the chariot rose into the sky, and riding there with Prahasta, Ravana left for Lanka. As they flew south in Pushpaka, Ravana and Prahasta saw Nandan, Shiva's white bull, grazing below them. Nandan looked up and said, "Turn and go, Ravana. Shiva sports here with Devi. No one can approach the wood of reeds." Ravana yelled, "Who is this Shiva?" Ravana jumped down onto the foot of the mountain, but there before him was that same Nandan, wearing now the red face of a monkey. Ravana threw back his 10 heads and laughed as loud as all the thunders ever made. But Nandan spoke quietly, "Demon King, you may mock my face, but animals looking like me will destroy you." Ravana snorted, "How dares Shiva play here with no fear of me?" Ravana grabbed the hill and shook it like a rag, and all Shiva's twisted goblins and speckled imps rolled twisting down from the peak. On the hilltop, Shiva pressed his big toe gently on the ground, and that mountain stuck his stony roots right through the earth round Ravana, and bars of stone held the demon king a prisoner. Then Ravana began to sing from his prison under the mountain's foot, and on the summit the great Lord Shiva smiled. Those were good songs. Ravana kept singing, and years passed by as though they were moments. With the beauty of his songs, Shiva set Ravana free. But Ravana could not rest content. He again set out with Prahasta on Pushpaka, this time to overthrow the kingdoms of men. He went from city to city, seeking war. But all the kings had heard of him and thought Ravana invincible. They all said, "We are conquered." Then Ravana rose up into the sky and came to the gate of Indra's heaven. A Gandharva, Chitraratha by name, stood leaning by the gate of the gods. Ravana went up to him and said, "Summon your master Indra to admit his defeat." "I am Chitraratha, the lord of music, and I don't run errands for dirty black spiders." Ravana swung at him with his sword and missed. Suddenly, in Chitraratha's hand was a long Gandharva wand cut from the edge of a rainbow, shimmering and waving. "Get out of our sky!" Chitraratha struck Ravana across the fingers so hard that he dropped his sword. Chitraratha flew away, and the massive gates of heaven slammed closed behind him. Ravana heard Chitraratha singing a war song. He heard thunders mutter and iron wheels of war chariots turning. Storms were gathering in the air. So began the battle of heaven. Fatal weapons of every virtue clashed in the air. The storm gods hit the demons with power like a tidal wave, like the lightnings streaming from the clouds, and the wild winds sang through their spears. Then Meghanada brought a black darkness by illusion and blinded gods and demons, all but himself. In that bewilderment he bound Indra in illusion and shouted, "I have Indra captive." Every might and power went out of the storms. demons carried Indra still bound to Lanka and threw him into a dungeon. Rama came to Lanka. He said to Ravana's son, "Now call yourself Indrajit, Indra's conqueror. Free him and take something from me in return." Indrajit said, "Grandfather of the worlds, when Ravana is in danger, may I call up with offerings from the fire altar a war chariot drawn by 4 tigers that moves at will. While I ride on it, may I be charmed to win any battle against any creature, and may no one but other Rakshasas see me when I wish to fight invisible." "I give all that," said Brahma. Then Indrajit held out the dungeon key, but Brahma refused it. By thought, Brahma removed from Indra's mind all despair and fear. He sent the idea, "I am free," and so annihilated the jail walls. "Dasarata, so fared the battle of heaven a year before your sons' births," said Vishwamitra. "Now throughout the forests, Rakshasas cruelly torment us. Demons range over the worlds like the winds. 2 of them especially cross me," he said. "And so I have come to fear Ayodhya. I must have a warrior. I need Rama to kill them." "My child," said the king, "after living through 60,000 long years in my old age, I at last gained a son. How can you take a tender child, my firstborn son, and lead him to death?" "Very well," said Vishwamitra. "Break your promise, and if you're doing right, may you be happy." Vashishta said, "Brahmana, keep your temper. King, keep your word." Dasarata called for Rama and Lakshmana. The old king held his 2 sons. They were still round-faced children and so young. But Rama and Lakshmana expertly put on their bows and quivers, donned their swords and archers' gloves like men. The king smiled then and felt no more grief for their going. Vishwamitra led the 2 boys from the city and stopped with them near the banks of the Sarayu. "Princes of Ayodhya," he said to them, "because Ravana overlooked men, I have things to teach you. Therefore, become my students." That night Vishwamitra taught heavenly weapons to Rama, beginning with the dread Brahma weapon and working down. Rama said the controlling mantras, and one by one the weapons appeared before him. He touched each one and said, "Return when I remember you." Some weapons had celestial shapes. Some were like live coals, some like smoke. They went turning round Rama and vanished. The next morning some hermits took Rama and Lakshmana and Vishwamitra across the holy river Ganga on a raft. And before noon they were at Vishwamitra's retreat. The Brahman lit a fire on his sloping altar. "Now I will begin," said Vishwamitra. "Protect me for 6 days and nights. Then on the 7th day be more alert, especially towards night as the sacrifice draws to an end." On the 7th evening, Vishwamitra put a handful of jewels and colored rice on his altar. He lit some incense and laid out green and white grass stalks and a bowl of liquid butter. Then out of nowhere, like 2 black clouds, the Rakshasas, Maricha and Subahu, swept in over the treetops. Rama shot 3 arrows at Maricha. Their force carried him through the air for hundreds of leagues and dumped him unconscious into the western sea. Lakshmana killed Subahu with 1 shot. At full dark, the sacrifice was finished, and Vishwamitra said, "This wood is clear of demons. That was my desire. Now come with me to the hills, for in Videha, Kingdom of King Janaka, there is a bow no one can bend or even lift. Rama, you must see that bow. Walking by easy stages, they reached the Videha land. The hills were rising and the rivers ran swift and cold. Soon they saw King Janaka coming to meet them. These are the Ayodhya princes Rama and Lakshmana, said Vishwamitra. They are eager to see your bow. Long since did Shiva give me that heavenly bow, said the king. To bend Shiva's bow is the dowry of my daughter Sita, whose mother is Prithivi, the goddess Earth. 14 years ago, I was plowing in a clearing beyond the city. When turning back, I found Sita there in the furrow I had just made. As a golden-skinned baby, she rose from her mother Earth and sat throwing handfuls of dust over her feet. Sita is beautiful, a girl more lovely than any garden, half divine and unmarried. Rama said, "We are curious to see the strength of your bow." King Janaka called an order, and 5 strong men with great difficulty brought Shiva's bow on an 8-wheeled cart. Janaka said, "Rama, open the box." Rama raised the lid. Sandalwood dust and incense ash fell off from it in a powdery cloud. Rama looked and thought, "This bow is beyond men, but perhaps I can try to hold it." Rama balanced the bow and strung it. Then he drew it so strongly that it broke in two with a noise so loud that everyone watching fell down. Janaka shook his head. Who would have believed? He helped his minister to rise. "Ask Sita." The minister rubbed his ears. She has seen him from her high window and touched him with her eyes and fallen in love with him already. So King Janaka himself married Rama to Sita. He said, "Rama, take Sita as your companion in the living of your life. Look at her. Never see enough of her. Cherish her with the eyes of love. Sita, love him well forever. Walk with him as his wife, and follow him like his own shadow. I marry you." Janaka brought together Rama's hand and Sita's, green and gold touching. He poured water over them. So overflows my happiness. Then Rama led Sita away, a new married man. Sita knew that she and Rama were destined lovers from all time past, will be so for all future to come. After Rama and Sita had been married for 12 years, Yudhajit, Bharata's uncle, came riding to Ayodhya and told Bharata, "Your grandfather, King Aswapati, wants to see you, for he is now an old man who has never seen his grandson." Dasarata gave permission, and Bharata and his brother Satrughna left for the hills. While they were gone, Dasarata all at once felt he had had enough of kingdom, and more than anything wanted to see Rama rule. He called the Kosala council and said, "I have grown very old. The one thing remaining for me to do on earth in this life is to make my son Rama a king. Tell me what you think of Rama. The opinions of disinterested men are different from the beliefs of a father, and the truth may sometimes come out like fire from friction between the two." Sumantra, the charioteer, rose to speak for all of them. Dasarata, you follow the Dharma path walked by your ancestors. We know you. We have seen you teach to Rama all royal skill. Follow your own heart's true feelings, Majesty. Those feelings are one with right Dharma. No one ever born can govern Kosala better than Rama. When he looks at us, our doubts vanish, and our debts are paid. Are these your reasons? Asked Dasarata. The one reason, replied Sumantra, is that if Rama says something to me, I can believe it. Sumantra sat down. All the men in that court raised their hands, palms touching to their heads, and Dasarata looked out on those joined hands as though looking at a pond covered with unopened lotus buds. Vashishta then rose and said, Majesty, though Bharata and Satrughna are still in Kakaya, yet tonight begins a rare and fortunate meeting of the moon and stars that lasts but one day. Let me install Rama as our king tomorrow. Dasarata sat upon his throne, very old, his life nearly parted and gone. He blinked his eyes and tears fell down his face. My people, I am very happy. As evening came, Manthara, the hunchback, climbed limping up outside the stairs of the royal palace. She was Queen Kakai's old family nurse, a sin-seeking hag, sour and malicious and cruel. She entered the palace and saw a passing servant girl wearing a new bangle. Manthara grabbed her and screeched, Where did you steal those diamonds? The girl backed against the wall. Kakai made us presents. Oh, happy Manthara, tomorrow Rama will be our king. Manthara's face crumbled like a hill knocked apart in an earthquake. She ran to Kakai. Oh, queen, she whined. Here comes enduring destruction, danger, loss, and grief. Rama will be king. I know, Kakai laughed and tossed Manthara a sack of rubies. Take them as your reward for welcome news. Manthara frowned. Her brow was like a cliff of folded stones. Tell your son Bharata never to return. Think of him now as an orphan in hiding. Kakai said, Rama is just as dear to me as my own son. Ever since Rama was a child, you have tried to lay on him your own vices, which are indeed truly large enough for more than two. Don't you know your lazy days are over? Rama's mother will be almighty around here. Take you the measure of your enemies and destroy them while you can, said Manthara. What can I do even if I wanted? Make Dasarata install Bharata as king. Use your two wishes. Or do you still remember how once as a young man Dasarata entered as the gods' ally into their war against the Asuras of drought? That's when I drove his sky chariot and saved his life, said Kakai. She looked at an old white scar across the heel of her right hand. Oh, he was badly wounded and the wheel came nearly off the chariot way up in the sky. I had his blood all over me. Kakai sighed and her eyes were far away. All right. I'll ask him to give Ayodhya to Bharata. Manthara said, You must banish Rama to the forest with the second wish. Send him away for 14 years, or otherwise he will kill Bharata to recover the throne. Kakai burst into tears, seeing in her mind's eye Bharata's corpse, his skin blanched by poison, her son killed by treachery. My son, oh my Bharata. Kakai ran to the palace anger room, slammed the door and locked it behind her. She lay in the dark, thrashing her arms on the bare stone floor, tearing her clothes and screaming, "I want to die!" Servants awoke Dasarata. The king came quickly down the halls to the anger room door. Dasarata shattered that brass-bound door by one stroke of one hand. He looked around for some enemy, his face flaming in wrath. Taking a lantern, he entered the room. He saw Kakai lying like one illusion spread out to capture another, and pain crossed his face. "Who does you hurt? Who shall mourn?" said Dasarata. "Arise, I am the king of kings in this world." Kakai sobbed, "No, this is way beyond you." Dasarata grew very proud. "I can do anything. My lady, what is it? What do you want?" "I want my 2 wishes." "Take them, whatever you want." "Make Bharata king and not Rama. Send Rama to the forest for 14 years. "Change your mind, Kakai." "Do both these things for me now. Grant my wishes." "I give what you ask," said Dasarata. He looked at Kakai as though she were a stranger to him. "I will honor your wishes. You will not be cheated by me. Promises must be true." Dasarata could not at first speak more. He was choked by the mist of grief, by the fumes of wrath. Then he said, "At once bring Rama here." Rama came with Lakshmana and stood at the anger doorway. Dasarata faintly said, "Oh, Rama." Rama waited, but the king said no more. Kakai spoke, "Gentle Rama, let Bharata become our king and take a hermit's life in the vast forests for 14 years." Rama said, "Bharata or myself, we are much the same. But without the king's command, I cannot come or go a single step." "But these are my 2 promises," said Kakai. "You had no need to use them. I would have gone at your wish," said Rama. "But why does Dasarata stand silently weeping, staring at the floor?" "Rama, have I done right?" asked Kakai. "If you say you have, I will believe you. But mother, I cannot leave the king in sorrow. He will soon recover. Hurry and go." Dasarata whispered, "Child, I am insane. Therefore confine me and become king." "I would never make you lose your faith and honesty," said Rama. "One must keep promises or not make them. For every broken promise breaks away a little dharma. And when dharma is altogether gone, the 3 worlds will be destroyed. If a man breaks his word, why should the stars above keep their promises not to fall? Goodbye, my father. I will hold your feet after 14 years." Rama walked away. Lakshmana was stunned and followed him in a daze. They went through the palace, and Rama greeted his friends as always. He did not look wishfully at the throne, nor did he turn his eyes away from it. Rama went to Sita to take his leave. "The time will quickly pass," he said. "You will soon see me return. She answered softly, "It is very strange, my lord, that you alone among all men in the world have not heard that a wife and her husband are one." "There is no happiness in the forest," said Rama. "There is danger. Lions roar and keep pitiless watch from the mouths of their hill caves. Serpents slither across the trails. Scorpions sting and poison the blood. The wood is full of misery." "It is Ayodhya that would be the wilderness for me without you," said Sita. "Rama, I depend on you. I cannot be cast away like water left in a cup. Dear Rama, I am the humble dust at your feet, perfectly happy. How will you avoid me?" "Then come," smiled Rama. "You love me, and I love you. What more is there?" Rama and Lakshmana and Sita met Vashishta by a small back door to the palace. Rama and Lakshmana put on their impenetrable armor, all of gold. Then over that they put the 2 pieces of soft dyed bark cloth worn by ascetics, tied on belts of grass, and put on forest sandals. Then Sumantra drove up on the royal chariot. Vashishta helped Sita get on the car. The 2 princes climbed up. Sumantra held the reins. The 4 horses raised their heads. Sumantra said, "Go!" The red horses ran through the palace gates and down the streets to the southern gate of Ayodhya. Then Dasarata cried from a palace balcony behind them, "Stop!" "Go faster," said Rama. "Later say you did not hear him." The gate guards heard the king. There was no time to close the gate, but they swiftly formed ranks to block the car. Sumantra bent over and picked up a war whip. His white hair streamed out straight back from his head in the wind. The red horses never slowed, never broke stride. There came the gate, the hooves and the wheels thundered. Sumantra flailed his whip to this side and that, and in terrible confusion broke free through the gate. The chariot dashed away from fair Ayodhya over the narrow Kosala road to the southwest. All day they rode through the kingdom of Kosala. The villages and fields grew fewer and farther between. Then there were no more settlements, only the forest closing in on them. Their road turned to a cow path and then vanished. At dusk, Sumantra stopped the chariot by the Ganga river. Rama got down with the others, and they stood under a huge, ancient, spreading tree that marked the kingdom of the far forest, the realm of Guha, the hunter king. As they stood under the trees of the secret forest, they heard whistles in the woods and looked in their direction. When they looked back, they saw Guha coming to welcome them. Guha was a little thin brown man, painted and tattooed with red and blue lines. He had on a necklace of tiger teeth and a belt of deer hooves, anklets of claws and pieces of ivory. In his curly hair were feathers, red and yellow and green and white. Guha ran to Rama, and Rama embraced him, and the savage king pounded Rama's back and laughed like a child. Oh Rama, now you are an outcast like me." He whistled, and hunter men came out of the trees bearing trays of hot steaming food. Eat, today is over. In Ayodhya men are driven raving mad by too many laws and rules. Freedom from me, I heard what happened, and never mind." Now the silent dark men of the greenwood came and made a fire under the great nut tree. They all sat around it and ate from banana leaves and drank from horns. When they had finished, Guha put a necklace of pink seashells over Sita's head. "I adopt you into my people," he said. "You are in my family, for your heart is free."